Okay, I dare you.
No,
I double dare you.
I won't do it.
I triple dog dare you.
You can ultimate final secret probation dog dare me. I am not going to moon the flagpole. It is freezing out there.
Would you do it for a Scooby snack? Nope. 2 Scooby snacks? No way. 5 Scooby snacks? Free. Done.
The following podcast contains graphic descriptions of international celebrating and global merrymaking. It may not be suitable for angry or unhappy audience members. Listener discretion is advised. You've been warned.
Have you ever seen any of those foreign films? I don't like them.
Some are born great, others achieve greatness, and some watch Christmas movies.
We are the wild and crazy guys.
Well, they're both festive, aren't they?
And we are the Festive Foreign Film Fans. Well, Yasu, Mark.
Yasu.
Do you like what I did there?
I do. Wow.
Mark, what did I just say?
You said Mark and Greek.
No, I said hi.
I know.
I thought I really fooled you.
No. I was trying to fool everyone else. Yes.
You fooled me. Yes, Mark, I spoke in Greek because tonight this is an exciting special episode of the Festive Fans because we are going to discuss Greece right after our friend Mark was just there.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate you and the Festive Foreign Film Fans and Jake supporting my trip. I mean, it was great. I have my receipts so it can be fully refunded. I'm just so tickled that you guys could pull your resources together to send
I was
Sunai.
out peddling stickers late into the evening, but we were able to scrape together enough to buy you that cocktail that you had on your trip.
Woohoo! I only had one, so.
Oh, yeah. So it's never happened before on the show where we get to cover a country where someone has just been, and that fully explains your outfit tonight, your toga that you're wearing. Just make sure, don't cross your legs. But, I know that you were very busy when you were there on behalf of the show. You were, scouting out locations. You were reenacting scenes from our movie. You were learning to speak Greek. So I think for our fans, this is very important. I want you to all gather around, whatever device you're using to listen to us, grab some popcorn, put your feet up, because Mark has for us one of his world famous vacation slideshows. Woo! He has them all on his phone. So he's going to have to upload them and project them through a Zoom link. So make sure you don't use your Wi-Fi because I think it's going to involve a lot of data. He has 738 images, but they're going to be fun to watch because he's going to have some running commentary through the whole thing. And before any of you ask, please get your minds out of the gutter. There will be no photos of Sue in a bikini on Santorini. I know he has them. He is not going to share them. This is special. And we do want to hear we're going to ask you some questions about your visit to Greece. But before we do that, we have to reach back to an interesting trivia tidbit that we heard in our last show. Yes, we're going back to steamy Singapore, and it's steamy for more ways than just the humidity. If you recall, we were asking about the Great Singapore Penis Panic of 1967. Do you remember that, Mark? Mark, I told you not to cross your legs.
Why did you bring us up again? Yes, I do remember.
So in October and November of 1967, Singapore's General Hospital treated nearly 500 men who thought that their penises were shrinking. At the peak of the outbreak, 97 men sought medical help in one day. I actually think it was their wives that drove them to the hospital. But the patients reported a sudden feeling of retraction in fear that their penises would disappear into their abdomens if allowed to continue.
So is that the opposite of what happened in Alien then? Like,
I think so, yes. All of a sudden it gets sucked in. Oh, my goodness.
Frightening. That frightened me.
So the doctors classified this condition as kuro, which stems from the Malay word kura, which means head of a turtle. And upon examination, the patients were found to be totally physically normal. We're not so sure about mental. The kuro was diagnosed as fear and not an actual condition. However, Mark, there were some injuries involved. Many of the patients did suffer genuine physical injuries by using rubber bands, chopsticks, clamps, and clothespins to hold their penises in place. I sure hope they've removed them by now.
I mean, can I just say, if your approach to that deal was to use a chopstick, aren't you already sort of like starting behind, I would say?
I don't know, Mark. I think a chopstick's pretty good. I'd take a chopstick. Now, a toothpick, that may be a trial for me.
That's why I love working, because you always like point out to me, it could be worse, Mark.
Yes. But if you knew about that Great Penis Panic, well, you are a 4F official sticker winner. We'll be happy to get you, hopefully, a bun stacker to go with the whole theme.
I don't even know. What is that conversation like going to the hospital?
I couldn't imagine.
Honey, hurry.
Look, it's moving. It's shrinking. Can't you see it?
We could have a whole show
just
on this topic. And if anyone called 911, what does that call look like?
Hey, Harv, we got another one.
Yeah.
So before we get to tonight's movie, which I'm excited about, but we want a little interview for our globe traveling co-host. So, Mark, what was your most favorite thing about Greece?
I think the castle of Knossos on the island of Crete was probably my favorite thing, where I'm like, holy schmoly. I'm at a place that's 4,000 plus years old, and they've done the archaeological study, and they have discovered things that were happening 4,000 years ago, like sewage systems and building certain things with certain type of trees so they could withstand earthquakes. So I would say the place I visited the most was Knossos.
What I love about that is the Castle of Knossos sounds like something out of a fantasy novel.
Yeah, right.
Was there anything from the movie that you saw or experienced when you were in Greece?
Other than the passion of people from Greece, right? The locations of this movie were more along the border of Greece and Turkey during the war when they were fighting each other. And so we weren't anywhere near that region, right? We were mostly in the southern part of Greece and the islands. And so when I watched this movie and I watched the men portraying the people in the army, I sort of did get that sense of the pride they had in protecting their homeland.
Oh, that's great. Okay, Mark, would you go to Greece for Christmas?
I think it'd be interesting to go there, but I got the sense that Christmas time in Greece which is kind of cool, is just about the Greek people themselves.
It's family time.
It's family time, not touristy time.
Yes.
So I'm not sure, but I do have pictures, and we'll post them, of different Christmas ornaments I saw. There's a lot of donkeys there because they use donkeys to transport people up and down the hills and stuff. But
so we don't get any pictures of Sue in her bikini, but we get you in your Speedo? I don't know.
On a donkey.
On a donkey. I hope we can tell which is which.
Just focus.
And the most important thing for tonight's movie, did you and Sue tango while you were there?
We did not. We did not.
And Mark, why did I ask you that question?
Why did you ask me that question? Because tonight's movie is the Christmas Tango.
The Christmas Tango.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to tell you about it. But the one thing we need to do a shout out for this. We have to shout out to our good friend Liz Schuh, who's our good Greek friend. She's Greek and she loves the homeland, and they celebrate all the Greek holidays. And I'm apologizing to her right now as we slaughter all the words, and she holds her head in shame for us. But we just want to say, well, this is for you, Liz.
Yes.
Want to watch a Christmas movie?
Christmas movies are our bread and butter.
We eat Chinese food and watch Christmas movies.
I heard it's the best Christmas movie since Home Alone.
The Christmas Tango. Let's talk about the actors. First one is Giannis Bezos. He plays Colonel Manolis Logos. Colonel Logos. And Giannis, well, his real name is Ioannis, but they call him Giannis Bezos, and he's a Greek actor and director. But this is the part that I was shocked by. He's considered one of the best Greek comedic actors of all time. Would you have got that from this movie at all?
Not at all. He's scary. He intimidated me.
He is the most uptight. So did a great job. He's mostly known for his work in TV and theater, but he has acted in 5 films, although none of them are English speaking. He's also famous for his singing. Again, he doesn't sing in this movie, and he doesn't look like a singer. I hate to say it. He just looks stern and unhappy.
He looks like a badass colonel in the army, right?
Yes. And he is married to an actress, and his daughter's an actress, so an acting family. So then we have Giannis Stankolo, who plays Lieutenant Stefanos Karaminides. Giannis Stankolo is a Greek actor who was born near the border with Turkey. He did study and work in New York and appeared in English-speaking films. Although it's interesting, he talked in this film. He had an accent. I would not have thought that he could speak English either.
No.
There's a lot of things that were really surprising here. He returned to Greece to become a major figure in the theater industry, and he's toured internationally with productions of Greek tragedies in modern Greek theater, and he's traveled all over in Europe, China, Latin America, Russia, and the United States.
Wow. And
then we have Antonos Albanus, who in my way was kind of my favorite character of this. And he played Private Lazarus Lazaro. And he is a Greek actor who debuted on TV and was first known as a voice actor for many animated films. So his voice was featured in ads on TV before he ever was on the big screen.
Wow.
And he's also a musician. And I'm thinking, of the 2 musicians and the singers, neither one of them, well, no, he sang. He did sing in the movie.
Right.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah, right. He's released several hit singles and albums. He's collaborated with other Greek artists. In addition to his music and acting, and this is great, he's been involved in various charitable causes, and he's worked for several organizations that focus on helping the underprivileged people in Greece.
Wow.
So Christmas Tango, very interesting concept for a movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of these movies that start in modern day and then it goes back to a previous time. Starts with this old man in a pharmacy, and he's there, and you can tell he notices a younger man there and recognizes him.
Yeah.
And that starts the movie where it flashes back to this individual who's in the army in 1970 in Greece. So we meet the colonel. He's there. He has a beautiful wife and a young daughter, and he's trying to get transferred from, they're in Evros, and he wants to get transferred back to Athens. So that's his focus, is trying to get back to Athens. It's Christmas, and he wants to have, it's funny because he's very stiff, very stern, but he wants to have a nice Christmas celebration. So he wants all the men to decorate the base. And we then meet a lieutenant there who he seems a bit distraught and removed, and he's
unhappy.
Yeah. And he's kind of tough too. Yeah. Both of them tough. The soldiers that you see are a variety of, they kind of make fun of, there's a heavier set soldier, but you see a whole different variety. But these 2 are the most unfun people. Yeah. And you see that the lieutenant, there's something with the colonel's wife. He's taken with her. We see them at the club, the officers' club. She wants to dance. She enjoys dance. Her husband wants nothing to do with dancing, but he wants her to be there. They don't seem to have much of a romantic connection. In fact, after they go home, she doesn't want any kind of relations with him, but he forces himself on her. So there's a problem in the marriage. There's the lieutenant who seems to be taken with the wife. And then we find the housekeeper is finding cigarettes outside the house. So she knows someone is there at the house and watching them. So we're getting ready for Christmas, and the private is been given the responsibility to put together a Christmas play for their Christmas celebration. It's kind of a comedic play. It has religious overtones, but they're playing it up for some laughs too. He's given that responsibility because he's artsy. They're like, he's kind of, so he's artsy. We'll give him the job of putting this together. And so the lieutenant brings the private, they have a meeting, and he wants to know if he knows how to tango. And he says, yes, he does. And he wants the private to teach him how to tango. And the private is, first very confused because this is not the demeanor of this lieutenant. And he brings him in. At the same time, we're learning that the private's mother is very ill in the hospital. Right. His sister is calling and begging him to come to the hospital to see his mother. And the rule is, the colonel has said, nobody leaves. Everyone has to attend the Christmas celebration. And maybe because it's his last one and he's hoping to leave, I'm not sure. Or he just wants everyone there.
Well, I think also the colonel's boss, I don't know if it was a general or not, was coming too. And I think he was trying to impress, the colonel was trying to impress the general. Like, look at this great base I have. It's festive. It's like my men are in good spirits, even though they do nothing to promote good spirits.
The general holds his transfer in his hands. That's right. Basically. So he really wants to impress him, I think, so he can get transferred out. So the private says to the lieutenant if I'm going to teach you how to tango, I need someone to dance with.
Right.
And so the two of them need to dance. So here you have two military men, one very stern and in their office, and one's teaching the other how to tango. And it's funny kind of, but it's serious and it's uncomfortable. It's because the private is trying to be helpful and all that, and this guy is not cutting him a break at all.
Well, I think it's even funny in the very beginning when they agree, they sort of set, the private's going to teach the lieutenant how to tango. And it's like the most basic things. He's like, so how do I begin?
Yeah.
And like the private's thinking like, well, what the footsteps? And no, how do I ask her to tango? Right. And he's like taking copious notes when the private says, you go up to her and say, may I have this dance? Right.
Yeah.
And so.
And put your hand
and
here.
Put your hand here. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it's all those things. It's funny. It's uncomfortable. It's, clearly the private is, I think sometimes I wonder if the private thing, like, how is this going to come back to bite me? Like, this is something's like, this is not the normal man I'm dealing with.
Yeah, because in some ways, he's trying to be helpful, but he has to pull some things out of him because he doesn't know. He's held back. He's a little reserved as well.
Yep.
But two other things happen at the time. He tells the lieutenant the music that you would tango to. He tells him the song, and we see the lieutenant go out and buy the record, so you assume he's going to use it for himself for dancing. And also the private is the operator for the base. He's one of the operators. There's several, but he's to fill in for the phone. So the record gets sent to the colonel's wife anonymously, and she calls her husband thinking that he sent it to her.
Right.
And the operator overhears the conversation, and now he realizes that he's teaching the lieutenant to dance so he could dance with the colonel's wife.
Yeah.
So this is all building up. The lieutenant makes the operator sing the song so that he can actually dance to the song, because at first they're trying to dance without the music, and that's not working. So he demands him to sing. He orders him to sing. And in the same way, you see that the private is getting sick. He's getting sicker and sicker, but the lieutenant has promised him that if he does this, he will let him leave and let him go for his mother. So he's going to do, hell or high water, he's going to get this done. And then there's a scene where the lieutenant, the only thing he seems close to is the dog, actually on the base.
Yeah.
And the dog was it killed or?
it dies.
Yeah.
It's really unclear how it
Yeah.
died, but yep.
But you see the privates watching him. He's very effective. You see him, he can be emotional.
Yeah.
You're not even sure before that fact if he ever could be.
It's the first time in the movie where you see there's the lieutenant has a connection to this dog, which is, what many of us have with our animals.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the sister's calling, Mom has hours. You got to get here. And he's not exactly done yet. I mean, he's taught him to dance and to learn, but they're not fully finished, but he decides to run. He's got to go. And the private takes off and he's going to go see his mom. And the lieutenant suspects and realizes that's what he's doing, sees him going through a hole in the fence and running. And again, this is where you start to see these complicated emotions. He lets him go.
Right.
Because I think he feels like, well, you didn't finish, but you fulfilled your end of the bargain by teaching me to dance. He goes, he's very sick, but now that impacts him. And he's like, we're not done yet.
Right.
And he goes back.
I know. I know at that turning point, I thought because the colonel sort of wishes him well as he sees him leaving. And then when he came back, I'm like, where's this taking us now?
And he comes back, and one of the things he says is, I know what it's like to be alone.
Right.
And I think he's signaling. So now the lieutenant knows what this is all about.
Yeah.
And they dance. They have a dance. And in fact, they have a dance, and the lieutenant is imagining him as the wife.
Yeah.
And they're actually really, you could see he's learned to dance. They're dancing very well. And it gets to the end of the dance and the private kisses him.
Right.
And a number of things start to add up in terms of they gave him the arts production. Right. I know what it's like to be alone, not to be yourself.
Yeah.
He's gay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
he's gay. And I think he's taken with the lieutenant.
Yeah. I think he has incredible affection for him. And then when I watched it the second time, I saw little subtle hints of it along the way, but
someone says something about him, like he's the funny one or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. But that's a great scene.
Yeah, it is a great scene. But meanwhile, so he's done all this to dance with the colonel's wife. The wife has had enough of her husband and everything, and this whole fact that she's now suspected that, she has an admirer out there. She gets the record. She doesn't want to go to the Christmas party. Right. And the colonel's livid. This is going to be embarrassing. I show up by myself, but she doesn't want to go. So he has to go with the housekeeper and his daughter, and they all go. They're all at the party, and, there's music. And in fact, the private has given a note to the band to play the song that he told him that he sang and he bought the record of. So it's all building up, and she's not even at the party.
Right.
Lieutenant comes in. You can tell he's crestfallen.
Yeah.
She's not there.
Yeah.
He's looking around, and it's just like, is this how it's going to end?
Right.
And she comes.
Yeah.
She shows.
I thought it was going to end with her not coming after the big
So
fallout
did
with the colonel. But yeah, that was a nice little twist that she does eventually come.
And dressed beautifully. In fact, she wanted to bare her shoulders.
That's
and
right,
her husband's like, no way.
Right.
A colonel's wife doesn't dress that way. So she wears the dress, but her shoulders are not bare. She goes, and the lieutenant is watching her like a hawk through the thing. And in fact, her daughter comes up and talks to him.
Yep.
And while he's studying the wife, but they do get, the song starts, and he goes and he asks her to dance, and they do a beautiful tango.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that everyone starts to notice, including the colonel.
Right. Well, the tango's a very sensual song and a very sensual dance. So yeah, it's hard.
And he has learned it well.
Yes,
the private has done a good job. But then, I mean, he tells her that he loves her.
Mm-hmm.
This is a woman he's seen from afar, tells her he loves her. And then the orders come through, and they're going to Athens.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, in this, it sounds like a very simple, basic, but it's really interesting. A lot of complicated emotions. but you're like, wow. So they had the one dance and they leave. But then it goes back to the modern day.
Yeah.
And you realize that the private, is talking to the young boy because he reminds him of the lieutenant.
Right.
And he said, I knew your dad and you look just like your dad. And he's saying, funny, people always said I didn't look anything like my dad. And there was a bust that the private had that the lieutenant had and given it to him, and he held on to it.
Yeah.
And he wanted to deliver it, and he asked if his mother was still alive, and she was.
You're right.
And he goes to see her, and she has Alzheimer's. So,
yeah.
But she kind of remembers, but a number of pieces fall into place because then he gives her the bust, and he realizes, and he goes and he spies on the lieutenant who he loved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing is that he fell in love with the lieutenant and kind of thought about him through his whole life. And the lieutenant was alive. The interesting factor is the son,
right,
was the son of the lieutenant and the wife. And you wonder, when did they ever get together? I don't know, but.
Well, it takes two to tango, Bob.
Yes,
doesn't happen.
We learned that from the movie. Well, and then she has kept, she's like, I remember you. She thought when the private went to see her, it was the lieutenant, and she had all these cards that he ends up delivering to the lieutenant. So yeah, there are a lot of gaps that you have to fill in. But what I love about it, a lot of these things were just not, for me, not anticipated. They were unexpected, and like the couple twists and turns that gave it even more depth. I know it sounds funny. It's about just one dance, but the significance and the symbolism of it was really good.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it was. I thought how the last 10 minutes of the film comes together. It was just magnificent.
Yeah, and even more so the second time, because I missed some of this at him recognizing, because I didn't know what was going on in the pharmacy at first, and the first time I watched it, and then the second time it came festive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Christmas time. There's a play going on. There's the decorations, right? I mean, if there wasn't a Christmas party, they wouldn't have got a chance to tango.
And that's it. I mean, Christmas is throughout. They're decorating the tree. They're decorating the base. They're playing Christmas music. That's the band is. Yeah. How'd it make you feel?
It was kind of this emotional roller coaster thing, right? Like I said, this tension and the stress of the lieutenant and the private, and the expectations of them and their relationship. In the end, it was a good feeling at the end. But throughout the movie, I was sort of up and down on different emotions.
I'm glad you said that, because I think it's kind of one of those things that you're almost kind of melancholy. In the end, it's happy and all that, but there's a lot of sadness to it and some grief. But there are some light moments too. So I felt like, kind of mixed emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, in the end, the lieutenant has a child that it appears he doesn't know about.
He doesn't know. Yeah. Yes. Not at all. Yep. And would you watch it again?
I would. Yeah. I already talked to someone about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to, again, through extended family, people who are from Greece, and I mentioned the movie. They had not heard about it before. I did recommend it.
Yeah. So you would not only watch it again, but you recommended it too. So, and I think it's one of those ones that I might watch with Mary Ellen. I thought, Yep.
It's a great love story.
Yeah. So now I know we've talked a lot about your trip, so I think I have to move through some of this a little bit quicker, but I do want to tell you how to say Merry Christmas in Greek. Did you hear this, Mark, when you were there?
No, he did not.
I think it would have been odd. You walk into the market and say, Kala Hristougennon. The G is like a Y, so Hristougennon. Kala Hristougennon. Because the Greek word for Christmas is Hristougennon, meaning Christ's birth. So when Greeks say Merry Christmas, they say Kala Hristougennon. It comes from the word kalos, meaning good, and Hristougennon, a compound noun made of the words Christos, which is Christ, and Yena, which is birth. So the funny thing is even Greeks misuse this, because this greeting is supposed to be said before Christmas. So always not, when Christmas is approaching and even on Christmas Eve, but you don't really say it on Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, you say Ronia Polia. No, Ronia Pola. And that is a wish for many years of good health and prosperity.
Oh.
And it's generally what you would say, on birthdays, religious day. So I think the Christ's birth is the expectation, the excitement for the birth. And then the day of, you're just saying, hey, we're celebrating good health to you. I should have called Liz to help me through, to help me to teach you some of these things, because I'm afraid she's going to be just so unhappy with how I'm pronouncing these things. But let's talk about some of the customs, because the customs are fun.
They are fun.
So this one is a very old tradition that kind of fell out of favor, but it's coming back now over the last decade. And what it is decorating boats with lights, because it was an old Greek tradition, because Greece, obviously, it's a nation of sailors. The men were always often away from home, right. They were out to sea. And of course, the wives are left home, especially during these winter months where it's stormy, dangerous seas, and they're fretting about their husbands, they're fretting about their fathers or their sons. All the men are out at sea where it's storming. They're afraid. So they would be home praying for a safe return. And when they would start to see the ships returning to the harbor, the women would decorate these small wooden boats in their houses, and they would point the front of the boat inward toward the house.
Interesting.
As like saying, again, hey, this is your homeward journey. Welcome home. So they had these little boats that they would decorate. And for a long time, that's what they had. Like, instead of a Christmas tree, they had a decorated boat in their little boat in their house.
That's outstanding.
It's so fun. But then clearly the modern Christmas tradition spread. Now, most of the homes had Christmas trees, but then they hadn't forgotten this tradition. It was just considered old fashioned. Yeah. And then, let's see, I think it was in 1999, the first large city, Thessaloniki, Greece's capital of the north. Mm-hmm. They decorated a huge boat at Christmas in the Aristoteles Square. And so they did that, again, harken back to this old tradition, and it spread. And then awesome. In Christmas 2013, Athens did one by erecting a fantastically lit boat in the Santorini Square in front of the Greek Parliament building. So now it's a return tradition, and it's a salute to their seafaring history.
That square, that's actually where they also have their tomb of the unknown soldier.
Oh.
So we saw that and the changing of the guard, and it's a beautiful square.
Did you see a big decorated boat?
I did not.
Oh, and this is another fun one, and one I know I'm going to just totally screw up the names of these. But just like Krampus and Grilla and some of these other countries, Greece has their own demonic creatures that come out at Christmas time. We all have to have them.
Yes,
but
we do.
Us Americans are way behind on this.
Way behind.
So these guys they're black-haired, furry, goat legs, red eyes. And they have been terrifying the ancient Greeks since pagan times. And they are called the Kalakantazori.
Wait, hello. Wait, say, Liz? You want me to take him off the air right now?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I can't do any better, Bob. So I applaud you for...
Liz, just take a shot of ouzo for every mispronunciation. Bill will appreciate that.
Go ahead.
So they're thought to live in the center of the earth throughout the year, and they're trying to get the world tree to collapse because, according to the Greek myth, the world is connected to the underworld through a tree. So the Kalakantazori, they spend all year sawing the tree, and then
they're busy.
Supposedly then on Christmas Eve, they rise up to cause havoc, and they can do it until the Epiphany because Jesus has not been baptized yet. So they're allowed during between Christmas and the Epiphany to just cause all kinds of mischief. So if anything goes wrong during those 12 days, you blame it on the Kalakantazori. So since Christ hasn't been baptized, he can't protect humanity from the evil. So these evil spirits just run around. And one thing you can do, you burn the Christ branch, which is a very thick, sturdy log. You place it in your fireplace. All the family gathers around. You light it on Christmas Eve. And the idea is you try to keep that log burning until January 6th. Burn for 12 days. And this aim, not only is it to keep the Kalakadorzai at bay, but it's also to provide warmth and light for baby Christ and Virgin Mary, who are out in the cold. You keep them at bay. And then after the log is completely died out on January 6th, you take the ashes, you spread them around the house, you spread them around the outside of the house, and you spread them around your farmland just to protect yourself from the evil.
Wow. That is a multi-level tradition.
And I just sit there and think, so does the tree, they cut down the tree, they get out on Christmas Eve, they go crazy for 12 days, and does the tree grow back then? They got to start all over?
I hope so.
Couple more things.
Yeah.
So in Greece, Santa Claus is not St. Nicholas. He's someone we've heard before,
Yep.
St. Basil, Agios Vasilis. Agios Vasilis. So I wonder if they have, like, as part of their meals, like they have a lot of pesto for St. Basil. So he doesn't visit Greek houses on the 25th of December. He comes a week later. He comes on New Year's Day bringing gifts. And interesting, Basil's tall and thin, kind of like St. Nicholas, but not white-haired. He has brown hair. So he doesn't look like Santa because he's tall and thin. Kind of looks like St. Nick, but more brown-haired. He also came from a wealthy family, but he was a great philanthropist. And he used his fortune for food and medicine and to help those in need. That, the big Orthodox cathedral you see in pictures of Moscow, that's dedicated to St. Basil.
That's right.
And his birthday is January 1st. So that's why they celebrate and they exchange gifts on January 1st. Although, again, like the Christmas tree, a lot of Greeks now just celebrate on the 25th.
25th.
And then now this is the part to get you really hungry and tell me if you ate any of these. There is the Christ bread, which is crastapsomo. It's a very important for the Christmas table. So you take the dough and you knead it with a special kind of yeast. And the recipes vary. Some will include dried basil, makes sense. Some will also add rose water, sesame seeds, honey, cinnamon, and cloves. And then what you do is, as you knead this bread, you take a piece of it and set it aside, because that is going to be, you're going to make a cross on top of the bread. The bread itself, and if you look this up, it's amazing. They make these really elaborate, artful designs with flowers, animals, things to show your prosperity and wealth with abundance. They may also put dried fruits like raisins. You have some spices, herbs, almonds, walnuts, as well as wine and olive oil, all stuffed in this bread. And then you make the cross on top. And then on Christmas Day, the head of the household will make the sign of the cross over the bread. And then he proceeds to hand it out to everyone and exchange blessings and wishes for good health.
That sounds delicious.
Look at the sweets. So these are the sweets. The most popular are the mela macarona and the korobidi cookies. And hey, Liz, if I get these right, you got to bake these for me. The korobidis, they're beloved in Greece, known for their rich, buttery flavor and delicate texture. These are almond-flavored shortbread cookies, similar to, I think, you see the crescent cookies and that. They're shortbread. They're almond-flavored. You share them with friends and family as a symbol of good luck and prosperity. Now, the korobidis, these are sometimes made with vanilla or rosewater. Rosewater has come up twice. I don't know if I've ever had anything made with rosewater.
Not that I know.
But they also will include some alcohol, maybe some Greek brandy, wine, liqueur. I'm sure your wife, Sue, will appreciate that. Maybe an extra bottle of wine to put in the cookies.
That's right.
So they may be adorned with a spice clove on each of the biscuits and shaped into crescents or balls, and then they're baked until they're golden. Sometimes, and this is kind of good too, they'll roll them in sugar, iced sugar, when they're hot, so they get a rich butter sugar coating. So think about that. So we got everything: vanilla, rose water, brandy, covered in sugar. And then the other favorites are these honey cookies, the mela macarona. All the recipes are different, but basically they're cookies soaked in honey syrup, and it's common to garnish them with finely chopped walnuts. They're rich and moist, and they're egg-shaped. And the typical ingredients, like I said, a lot of people, different things, but you might have flour or semolina, sugar, orange zest or fresh juice, cinnamon, crushed or ground clove, and olive oil. And they're also known as Phoenicia. So, and the name is derived from the word for honey, meli, and macaria. Immediately after they're done baking, after they're hot, they're putting the cold syrup made of honey and sugar. You know what I find interesting? There's sweet, but then they also have like spice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the cloves in it. So it's kind of like two offsetting tastes.
Now, besides eating, do they ever sing?
This calls for some Christmas music.
Yes, this Christmas music.
What kind of Christmas music is that?
The least you could do is play some Christmas music.
And now back to Christmas music.
Even listening to this food, I think I've gained a couple pounds. Time to shake some off. Let's listen to some Greek Christmas music.
Awesome.
So, Mark, did you hop around like that in a toga when you were in Greece?
I did.
Or was it just for Jake and ours benefit?
Well, I hope you know that I used that spray stickum to keep it attached to me. So
good.
You're welcome.
So this song is Hristougennon. It's Christmas.
Yes.
And it's by the singer Despina Vande. And she's one of the most successful and multi-talented artists in Greece. So all of her albums have been successful, but her single, Hypophero, is the best-selling Greek single of all time.
Oh.
So she released this song, Hristougennon, or Christmas, on December 17th, 2001. And again, we explained that the name is put together, Christ and birth. And so this is also, so she was so popular with her best-selling Greek single, this is also one of the most popular modern Christmas songs from Greece. And very few have become such a major hit like this one. And she's also, it's been so popular, she also released a remix, a dance remix, which I know you're going to go out and purchase.
You know it will.
And then I'm going to get the unplugged version, the acoustic version of this song. So,
It's trivia. Trivia.
The funny thing is, Mark, I have to say, is that I didn't mean this to be a theme at all. I really didn't. Except when you started to look into this Greek history, I mean, it has the storied history that you described. There's been warfare, politics, philosophy, but all we could find were the issues of the flesh. So we thought we might ask you, there's all kinds of fun trivia. Like, how about the Greek play? This is an ancient Greek play where the women ended a war by withholding sex until the men agreed to peace. That was one. Or we thought about, how about the yearly celebration of male genitalia in the Greek town of Ternavos? We also thought about how the first recorded use of lubricant was olive oil in ancient Greece. Or even this best one, in order to advertise their services, prostitutes in ancient Greece would wear sandals that left the words, "Follow me," imprinted in the dirt. I have those same shoes at home, which is really funny. But despite all of these colorful examples, we thought instead to ask you how you might symbolically show your love for someone based on Greek mythology. There was something that you would do to show that you love someone. What did you do? If you know this, send us your answer to festivefans@gmail.com. And Mark's niece, Mimi, is our best responder. We're running out of stickers because of her. She's so smart.
Did not get that from me. That's from Sue.
I'm glad somebody got all the brains.
Sue's side of the family. Not that Chandler's aren't smart, in case Chandler's listening, but Mimi is brilliant.
So Mimi, if you get this one right again, you'll get a free sticker, and so will everyone else. But so you have until our next episode to respond. Mark, we're running late. I'm going to give you the quote. So, Christmas should be more than putting up the tree and wrapping the presents. It should give birth to something that shakes up the routine, something that gets us to see the world otherwise. And that is by Amy Jill Levine. I love that because that is what all of these things about Greece have done, is make us see the world otherwise.
A lot differently.
Oh, Mark, always fun.
Always
When's
fun.
your next trip? We just got to pick that place to cover as well.
Maybe Scotland and England next year, but don't know yet. That's far out. I mean, the next trip is going to be local. We're going to Las Vegas in the coming weeks, but not sure about international yet. Maybe you should. Well, if you're going to pay like you did this time, then you tell me where you want me to go.
There's a town called Fox River Grove right down the street, cross the river, and you can go there. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Have a good night, Mark.
Good night, Bob.
I forgot to look up how do you say goodbye.
I don't remember.
Yasu. Yasu.
Actually, we're done.
Done.
It's over. It's over.
It's over, kaput, finito.
It's over. It's over. Over.
This has been a Waysound Studio production.
And sound engineering on our show is by Jake Fontana.